Hello and welcome to episode 141 of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is Patrick Knisley.
My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is David Howe, and boy, oh boy, it's just us this week, ladies and gentlemen. No guests on the horizon, just three beautiful boys looking to give you guys the news and a good bit of discussion.
That's right. And this week we are going to be talking about the GeForce Now, Nvidia's GeForce Now leak that happened actually a couple months ago, but we're bringing it up now to talk about it because there's been a lot of games that have actually come out and or been announced that kind of confirm a lot of the information in this leak. So we're going to kind of do a revisiting that topic, and also kind of just talk about these big leaks that have been happening in general and what they mean for the video game industry and you know how platforms and developers interact and that kind of thing. So we'll go through that leak specifically and then kind of have a little bit of big picture conversation. But we've also got a lot of interesting news to go over as well, including a couple of final updates to some big Nintendo games. Well, one small and one big. The Mario Golf and Smash are getting their final updates. Some updates to the Aladdin, the Disney collection, and some other announcements and news. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. How is everybody doing right now?
There is no cologne news this week.
I was just gonna say, where's the cologne?
Yeah. Sorry, no cologne, no Shenmue, no Sailor cologne this week. So
they didn't announce a monkey ball cologne, right?
Mhm.
Like no monkey ball DLC cologne.
You just rub plasticine on your body and then you get the same effect, basically.
Yeah. If you missed last week's episode, we joked about cologne in last week's episode. So be sure to check the most recent episode before this.
Yeah. How we all doing? We have a pretty good past week.
Sure did. I thought I almost fucked up Thanksgiving. I ordered a turkey and brisket from Style Switch, and I almost went through the whole day and I forgot to pick it up. And I thought they stopped the pickup at 2, and I went to go pick it up at 4. And I freaked out. I didn't talk to my partner, and I rushed out the door. And she called me. She was like, "What? Why'd you leave suddenly?" I was like, "I don't want to talk about it." But everything was fine. But there was a sudden moment of panic, and we had friends over for Thanksgiving, and it was good.
Nice.
That's right. This last week was Thanksgiving. How was your Thanksgiving, David?
It was okay. I mean, I went home for a couple 48 hours or so. My mom's birthday was on Thanksgiving this year. It's sometimes on Thanksgiving because Thanksgiving's always on a Thursday for some weird fucking reason. But anyway, so she didn't want to do turkey and like the regular Thanksgiving stuff this year.
My birthday.
Yeah, so we did a surf and turf Thanksgiving. We had steak and crab legs.
That sounds nice.
Cool.
And it actually was. It was way fucking better. Turkey kind of sucks. I mean, turkey's like all right.
Right. Yeah.
But
fine.
it's like my favorite part of Thanksgiving food is like stuffing, which is just like,
the sides. It's all about the sides.
Exactly. But even then it's like I could take or leave that. You know what I mean? Like my one regret from not having a standard Thanksgiving this year is I wasn't sent home with like copious amounts of leftovers, like normally happens when I visit my parents on Thanksgiving. But it was a pretty good time. And then, the rest of the weekend I had like a long weekend. So that was cool. Watched like a ton of TV. Watched that Beatles documentary in full, by the way. Have any of you guys been watching that?
How is it?
Are you guys Beatles heads? Is that just me?
I like the Beatles, but I'm not
a head. My Beatles head.
Yeah. I'm like a hardcore Beatles head. I've been a Beatles fan since I was a kid. So like for me, it was bliss. It's like I could have watched 100 hours of that, let alone the 8 hours that it actually was. But I mean, it's like very much just British people mumbling in a studio while they eat sandwiches. But it's great. You hear, we've all heard the songs from Let It Be like a million times, like all their hits from that album. And so just hearing them like literally just, he's like, all right, we got to come up with a song today. And then they're like, all right. And then he like, basically you just like in like the span of 3 minutes, just hear him basically write Get Back in its entirety. You know what I mean? And like it forming and all the words coming to, it's just a really trippy experience. And it's also just so well preserved. They did a lot of like AI upscaling and like noise reduction on the film stuff. So it's really nice and crisp and everything. So it really feels like you're there as far as like fly on the wall documentaries go. They really did a really good job. So
it is amazing how the Beatles, in particular, like Paul McCartney, would write songs in the studio on like, and songs that we all are very familiar with that he just like came up with. Like, that's nuts to me.
And Let It Be in particular, like that album, they had only 3 weeks to write it and record it and rehearse it and all of that stuff. And so, and the whole time it was filmed.
They were on fire. Like,
there's just anytime somebody's like, I don't like the Beatles, I'm like, you fucking suck. And you're just a contrarian. They're just objectively good musicians. But anyway, Patrick, how was your Thanksgiving? You have a good time?
Oh yeah. Thanksgiving was fine. We've had a little bit of a rough go around here, but it was nice to see family. And, after not doing a family Thanksgiving last year, I think. So it was nice to get back. And we actually had 2 because of the way it worked out. So that's fine. But it was good. Yeah.
Did you get copious sides?
So we hosted on one of them and we made the turkey. So we had copious leftovers and some people left some stuff. Yeah. So
I'm going to come over to your place then and pick some of that up.
Yeah. We've gone through most of it actually.
Okay. We'll save a little bit for just throw it in a pig slop container and I'll just snarf it up.
All right. Well, we should move on. So last week we talked about achievements with Steven Swirsky. That was a lot of fun. And we got some really great comments on the Discord. Karuseta mentioned that, they don't particularly like achievements, that they do like the art style, the Xbox avatars, but they don't particularly, like achievements, but they realize that they kind of make their own achievements when they replay Dark Souls and other games, and by making their own guidelines. And I think that's true too, right? Like when you're really good at a game, sometimes you replay it and like, I'm not going to use any items or whatever. That's like its own.
That's one of the things I really like about like speedrunners and stuff like that. They always making their own categories to increase the fun of the game,
And then on Facebook, we got a couple comments. Luke Bowyer mentioned that like they thought that the trophy system on Smash Bros. For the 3DS would have been perfect for like Nintendo profiles as a whole. I think that's true of Smash Ultimate too, right? Like they don't have the trophy system, but the whole like, it's funny that there's more personalized avatars on Smash than there are on the Switch.
Yeah, I really missed. That was like my one gripe about Ultimate. Really was that I missed trophies. I think trophies were so cool, and I think if they had made that like system wide, that could have been a really Nintendo way to do that.
Yeah, they mentioned like having specific character item trophies for completing games or other challenges. That would be great. And then Vincent Goodwin mentioned on Facebook that in regards to we discussed Phil Spencer's comments on sort of backwards compatibility and that being a North Star for the industry. And they mentioned this, which I think is a great point, that maybe that Phil's kind of talking about future-proofing games that are being developed now more so that they won't ever die. And I think they bring up something like, for example, EA's Jedi Fallen Order and the idea of like, they might not always have the Star Wars license. That might be if they're, I think that's great. Like these sort of licensed games, if there's ways to make sure that those can be accessible in the future and however they're negotiated and that kind of thing, that makes sense to me too. Sweet. So unless there's anything else, we always appreciate hearing from listeners and viewers. So send us a note if you have any comments on what we talk about today, or share the podcast somewhere online. We'd like that. Like on Reddit, for example, leave us a review.
That was a super fun episode last week, y'all. Yeah. Just as an aside, editing that one, I had a lot of fun going through and doing that one. Stephen was a great guest too. So thanks everybody for leaving comments on that one.
I think you said, David, showing y'all behind the curtain a little bit, the audio curtain. You said we were on fire.
Yeah. AC was busted. So.
Yeah.
All right.
And now we simmer with a 3-person episode, baby. Let's go.
A little simmer. All right. So this week on the news and rumors front, starting off, there's been a fan project to decompile a decompilation of the Ocarina of Time So that basically means there's the game, and then they take the game and break it down into like to really see all the code, right? It's sort of my understanding. I mean, there are decompilers when you're a programmer and that kind of stuff, but obviously it's like this stuff's proprietary and it's hard to like see the code. It's kind of like data mining, but like these older games taking it and now they have all this original source code or whatever theoretically.
Right. And it's basically turning the game code like into C+, right? Or it's
something that could
into
then
C,
be,
I guess.
Viewed and recompiled theoretically, which I think they have stated is not their purpose. Their reason is to just kind of for research, for like modding, for glitch hunting. They're not trying to like port it to PC, they are saying. But that's pretty cool to see what hidden things might be discoverable now that's out there. We'll find out.
And like there's no way this doesn't end up in a PC port of Ocarina of Time, right? Like
even though they say that's not their goal, somebody will make it their goal.
But I mean this will be open source and this will be out there for anybody, right? So it's like I'm sure it will happen at some point. Like we saw the same thing happen last year with the Mario 64. Mario 64 was decompiled and then turned into this like really full featured PC port with 60 FPS and ray tracing and widescreen and all this crazy shit. So I'm very, very excited to see what kind of fan community mods can come up with a Ocarina of Time PC port. Because I feel like that's inevitable, whether or not they say that's their intention. I do think that will happen eventually.
And then in sort of big video game acquisition news, Epic Games, the makers of Fortnite, among other things, and they acquired Harmonix, which is the rhythm game company known for Rock Band
and Beatles Rock Band.
Objectively the best rock.
It actually Beatles Rock Band, quick aside, was way ahead of its time. Because that was the first time you could ever like actually listen to stems. That's the first time stems were ever released of Beatles songs, where it's like just vocal tracks or just guitar tracks. Or anyway, it was crazy. We can move on.
Paul McCartney like wrote songs literally when they were releasing. I can't make the joke. I can't make it work.
You're joking, but he did do a song for Destiny. So,
but in the studio. Anyway, so that's interesting because I don't know. When you think of Epic, do you think of? I mean, what do you think of when you think of Epic? I guess Fortnite and like Unreal.
Yeah.
Epic is building a warehouse of tools for their own need, whether this is for metaverse, whatever that might be for Epic, or whether this is for Fortnite. With all the acquisitions over the last year, Harmonix focused on rhythm and music games and asset creation with like acquiring like something like Sketchfab, which is all about make it easy to import 3D models, and ArtStation. They have a lot of digital assets that developers use, including Unreal, to make games. And I think Epic is shoring up all of these things for something that's coming out way into the future, to license all of this to make money.
Well, I know they specifically said in the announcement that they would be, at least for right now, Harmonix would be working on bringing like music content to Fortnite of some nature. So I know at least for now, they're going to be putting them on Fortnite, which is to me just kind of sad. I mean, well before Guitar Hero and Rock Band, I was a big fan of Harmonix from the Frequency game, like Frequency and Amplitude for the PS2 were awesome rhythm games, and they've been putting out consistently great rhythm and music games since then. It's just like it's gone down and down and down in user base each time. They just recently did Fuser, which was kind of like an Electric Daisy Carnival simulator. I guess you're like on stage at one of these crazy shows. Like
it comes with Molly
songs. Yeah, it comes with everyone. It comes with a tincture of Molly that you're supposed to
one time. You can one time really, yeah.
Microdosing Molly wouldn't recommend, by the way. Kind of defeats the purpose. Anyway, but anyway, so I'm not surprised to see them bought and then put onto a bigger project because their stuff isn't really selling right now. But it does feel like a little bit of an end of an era. I just hope that eventually they're not just relegated to just doing Fortnite content from now on and eventually get to make some of their own stuff again, because their games are always very unique and very interesting. And they've been taking a lot of chances recently, which is kind of why they haven't been selling as much, I think.
I think, that what Epic is doing is just interesting to me, because we're seeing market consolidation that's happening in the game industry more and more. Companies, larger companies swallowing up these other companies. But like Harmonix they probably have all these licensing deals with maybe Beatles music. And maybe those licensing deals transfer over to Fortnite. It could be the mechanisms of what makes a good rhythm game, from Guitar Hero to Rock Band to all of these other things. It's all of the functions that Harmonix has in the background, all their processes, but not necessarily just their end product.
Log into Fortnite to see Paul McCartney write a new hit in real time.
I just want to see George Harrison shoot Ariana Grande in the face in Fortnite while Naruto watches.
This is what Epic wants, though. We joke about it with like Tyler the Creator, Ariana Grande, and then Master Chief.
Yeah,
you can have some interesting mashups.
You can take Travis Scott out, though. I think his time is fast.
I agree.
So, I mentioned, a couple of Nintendo games got another and theoretically final big update. That includes Mario Golf Super Rush. So we talked about Mario Golf Super Rush when it came out and how it felt like it's a fun game, but it felt unfinished. I actually haven't had a chance to play these most recent updates, but the previous ones have kind of fleshed it out, and I imagine this does even more so that it feels like more of a full game now. Maybe too little too late, but they added a couple characters. Wiggler, which is great. Like, not who any of us expected.
I'm a Wiggler stan.
And Shy Guy are now playable. Shy Guy, not so much of a surprise because they were featured in the game. A couple new courses, which is great. Again, I haven't had a chance to try these out. And then a couple of new modes. So that's nice. It's nice to see the new modes in particular.
Yeah.
I feel like I do look forward to trying these out because I did enjoy the game, but I haven't had a chance to. Any thoughts on this update? Do you think that they were planning to possibly do more? We talked about this when it happened, because they never gave us any sort of roadmap for this, and it felt like the game kind of dropped off after release. And so it does feel like they could have added more characters, especially, like, maybe.
Yeah,
not that it needs it.
There's a lot of characters in there. I think they've done a decent job. This feels like it's finally a $60 game to me. You know what I mean? I felt like the amount of stuff they had in there at the beginning was pretty rough. And now that they've added like 6 courses over the course of this, this kind of feels like what it should have been on release. So I think I'm happy with it, like how it stands right now. I haven't played it yet. I watched some footage in the new courses. They look cool. One of them is like all the pars are like 3 or under. So it's like cool. Like a faster course. But yeah, I think it's like they needed to. I mean, this feels like a fine time to cut it off, is what I'm saying, if it's all going to be free content.
Yeah, it was an interesting rollout for sure. And then we are getting our final Smash update. Version 13.0.1 is coming. We don't know exactly when. I think they just said soon. So this will be, according to Nintendo, the final fighter adjustments. So we're about to have I imagine they might, patch in some little glitch fixes and that kind of stuff beyond this, but theoretically this should be the last adjustment, and we'll have a static game for so it's been a long time, 3 years of adjustments where characters, they haven't made wild adjustments, but it'll be interesting to see what these final adjustments are. But yeah, that's coming up soon.
Definitely crazy to be finally at the end of this very long road. And I'm gonna kind of miss looking up nerf and buff lists. Don't even really play at that level at all, and it doesn't really matter to me. It's still fun to see people like rejoice when their character was buffed or sad when they're nerfed. So
Yeah. We have one more time to be rejoicing.
did they say when this is coming out? Or is it just that it's soon?
To what I have in front of me, it just says soon. Maybe somewhere
Okay.
they did, but the tweet just says soon. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I wonder how this will affect some of the esports that Panda's partnering with Nintendo with, because maybe they learn data from those competitions, and maybe we'll see small nerfs or buffs here or there, but won't have like a major update ever again.
Yeah. We'll see. Tweet says Final Fighter adjustments, but
yeah, well, I'm just hoping that finally I can actually make replay videos.
Not have them be deleted because you don't. Who wants to go and convert your videos? Yeah. Also, that's like a stupid system.
I just really wish I would be okay with it turning off video recording capability only for matches with 8 ice climbers.
Yeah,
you don't need to have it off at all times.
I don't understand why it has to fuck like that. Why it? Yeah, and whatever. There are other games where you could save things and then they patch it and it doesn't screw up your saved replay. You know what I mean? Like,
we're fine.
Anyway, so the Disney, what's it called? The Disney Classic Games, Aladdin and Lion King or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, 2-pack or whatever.
Yeah, this 2-pack, but had various versions of these games, came out a couple years ago, and then they recently released a new version of it with additional games, in particular I think it's right, the Super Nintendo version of Aladdin and the Jungle Book game. So it's kind of like, that's weird why they re-released it. But apparently now you can buy those as DLC if you own the previous version, right? So that's good to see.
It's just weird. Again, it's like they jumped the gun on putting it out until like they tried to get the rights, and then maybe I guess whoever had the rights to like Super Nintendo Aladdin didn't like pick up the phone, and they got impatient and just went with it. But now they're having to like put out a whole brand new physical version of this with the superior, in my opinion, Super Nintendo version of Aladdin, which was like definitely the biggest omission of that collection. And then I guess to justify the price a little bit more, they added Jungle Book as well. But I think I'll finally pick this up now that it has that in there, because these games are really good. Even the Genesis version is good, even though I prefer the Super Nintendo version. But I'll probably wait for a sale. But I'm just glad to see that it's all together now instead of one thing being left out. Now, if only Nintendo could follow suit and redo 3D All-Stars with Mario Galaxy 2, that would be really nice.
Undelete it and then
exactly.
Just
release paid DLC for a game you can no longer buy on the eShop. That would be the most Nintendo move of all time.
Yeah, totally. Like I want to buy this DLC. You don't have the game. It's like, but I can't buy the game.
No, you can't get it solo. You can only get it as DLC.
That does sound like a Nintendo thing.
Yeah, I bet that'll happen, to be honest.
Hey, this is some news for David, but also I don't know that this means anything, right? So like the Super Monkey Ball director has apparently in an interview, when I think probably after the Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz, the Banana Mania, right? That's the one that just came out.
Banana Mania just came out, yes.
So talking about that one, they mentioned that they would like to make a new Super Monkey Ball game because all the releases have been remakes, right? Mm-hmm. That's what both Banana Blitz and this Banana Mania were, right? It's just
right. Banana Blitz was a weird remake of the Wii game, yeah, which had motion controls, and then even on the Switch, the version to the Switch did not have motion controls. It was really odd. But then they added motion controls to Banana Mania, which didn't have them originally. I'm giving you guys too much information.
Banana Mania heads are listening. Yeah.
Yeah. We have a huge monkey ball following on this podcast.
You lost me at Super Monkey Ball.
But
Steve Irwin's listening right now.
Right. Yeah. Because I forced him to play it by giving it to him for free. But anyway, But Shirosaki, who is the director of this game, he's not like the original director of these games. That's the gentleman, I'm forgetting his name right now, who's now moved on to NetEase, the guy who also created Yakuza. And so Shirosaki has like talked about how he's been wanting to get back to the original Monkey Ball formula, and that the only reason that they did Banana Blitz was because it was the highest selling game in the franchise, because it was on the Wii, right? Which was, everybody and their mom literally had a Wii. And so he really wanted to do these 1 and 2 remakes because fans wanted it and he wanted to do it. But then he's also been wanting to go and make more stuff. So I think like the fact that he seems like his heart is in the right place, and they now have the Monkey Ball Banana Mania kind of like engine, right, that they can build on. I think, as long as they can get some good level design stuff down, and if they want to, there's a million people out there making Monkey Ball clones right now that are ripe for the picking, for talent, for stage design and stuff like that. They could totally Sonic Mania this, which I know that's what Banana Mania is supposed to be. But I mean, bring in the fans to like help create new stuff, because between Rolled Out and Paperball and all that kind of stuff, there's tons of great Monkey Ball clones. So it'd be a really good time to dip into the community to make one of these new games.
Nice. And then for our next news item, shout out to our friend Michael Domang, for alerting us to this news, as well as stating that this is going to be our game of the year 2022, which apologies, Dodo, I don't think that's going to be true. Maybe, Matt, I don't know. We'll talk about it. Sentinels, or 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim is coming to the Switch next year. This wasn't exclusive, right? Was it a PlayStation? I don't know what this was on. It came out on other platforms previously, right? Last year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I didn't do my research for this one. Where are you, Dodo? We need you. We need you here. Why is this? Probably
should have had Dodo on this episode.
Yeah, probably should have. So I know that this is supposed to be a pretty good game. I also heard it's kind of an interesting game, right? So we'll see. I guess if you're, somebody who just has a Switch, this is a chance to check this out next year. Obviously, Dodo likes it, so
it's got a cool style. And I know it was like a game that people were confused was not coming to the Switch when it came out originally. So it's nice to see it now. And it's nice to see Atlas just putting more stuff on the Switch. I don't know. Looks cool.
And our next bit of news is about the Mario movie that is coming out also in 2022. And everybody's favorite CEO, right?
Meledandri.
Yeah, love that guy.
Meledandri-sama. Meledandri-kun.
Apparently was talking about that the voice that Chris Pratt is going to do for Mario in some sort of interview, that he can't wait for people to hear it, that it's phenomenal.
But it's not going to be Italian.
Yeah, I guess that it's not going to be Italian. It's that they cover that in the movie, and there's definitely a nod to it, but it's not what's going to be throughout the film. So I think was it Lee? Shout out to Lee, who had this like nice breakdown of a theory that I think feels very quite possible or whatever. Am I right?
It sounds like a Lee theory. Yeah.
Lee Howson, I think said this, where it's like, Chris Pratt plays like a dad at a household and they're playing Nintendo or something like this. And I apologize to Lee, who has a much better written out. This is me paraphrasing from memory. And they get sucked into the TV somehow and plays the part of Mario. And so, we hear Mario at first with the regular voices. And then from then on, it's like,
he's like, I can't do this anymore. And then he's just like Star-Lord for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, that might be what we're looking at.
That's probably good. That's kind of what Lego Movie is, right? Like, it's like set in the real world.
Yeah.
On
right.
a table,
and then,
right?
But there's this like two realities kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
We will see.
Do you guys think that we will? I mean, we've been hearing lots of rumors that Nintendo is going to have something big at the Game Awards. Not just the Zelda stuff, but just, this past week there was like more stuff. Do you think we see a Mario trailer at the Game Awards or a teaser?
Man, that seems early.
Is it? I mean, it comes out next year. If it's a teaser, I could see that.
Yeah. I feel like that's the wrong audience. But Nintendo could very well do that, though. You know what I mean? That doesn't preclude it from happening.
Yeah.
It would be a very Nintendo move to announce a movie at the Video Game Awards.
Yo, they fucking revealed the cast in a direct. Like that was pretty weird. Nobody expected that.
An unusual amount of time focusing on Chris Meledandri.
Yeah. Dude, all right. If Chris Meledandri comes out during the Game Awards, you finish your drink.
That sounds like I really hope he's there.
Yeah. I do too, dude. I hope from now on, Meledandri-san hosts the Game Awards. Sorry, Jeff Keighley. Time's up, Keighley.
We want Chris Meledandri. Or like just get Keegan Michael Key out as Toad. That's what I want to see.
Yeah. Yeah. What about the other cast?
Hey, Rod.
Well, yeah. What about the other cast? We know Mario's not doing an Italian accent. Will Keegan Michael Key be doing it like the Toad accent?
Yeah, but Luigi will be doing the Italian accent.
The only person who you can pretty much guarantee will have an Italian accent is Sebastian Maniscalco, because he's the only actual
Italian American. Yeah. Which is kind of what Mario is. Maybe not, or just parody.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the real question: has Mario ever really done an Italian accent?
Yeah.
Could you even really call that an Italian accent?
Just mocking an Italian accent.
Piscatella.
The last culture that can just be openly mocked, it feels like.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Apologies to all our Italian listeners.
Yes. So leading us into our main topic tonight, one of the games that was in this big Nvidia GeForce Now leak is, and I'll hold for the visual here that David is providing, Chrono Cross, a Chrono Cross remake. David's holding up a magazine featuring Chrono Cross.
It is a player's guide.
Oh, a player's guide. I apologize. That's much better. That makes more sense. And sounds like there's some additional evidence that's been coming out. And I'm getting distracted by these wonderful
Sorry,
images.
you can just keep talking. Just don't pay attention to me.
So I guess that there is a game called Another Eden, which I don't know a lot about this game. Do y'all know what this is? It's a Square game,
it's
right?
it's a gotcha game, like a mobile game. Yeah.
And there's some like evidence from data mining in this game that there's gonna be a Chrono Cross crossover in this mobile game, which would be a strange thing if there wasn't. I mean, maybe it's not. Maybe it could happen even without a remake or a re-release or what have you. But it seems
it'd be pretty strange. I mean, like, because they talk specifically about like in the data you could find like character models for like Surge and Kid and all those characters and everything, which you don't like. Whenever you see Chrono Cross, like it's never like, hey, this character's showing up. It's like just because it has Chrono in the title and everybody loves Chrono Trigger. You know what I mean? Which is frustrating as a Chrono Cross fan. But yeah, I mean that, and then even last week we didn't really talk about this. We talked about the Chrono Trigger Jazz CD, but we totally missed the Chrono Cross news that came out last year. And that's, you know, there are like musicians right now that are talking about working on like a remake of a PlayStation 1 RPG. A lot of people have been talking about how it's Chrono Cross on like an Xbox podcast recently. Somebody was saying that we've been talking about Forever Entertainment, who recently signed a big deal. It's Forever, right? Is that what they were? Who signed the big deal with Square?
Yep.
Yeah, and so you know they're saying that that's what their project is a Chrono Cross like remaster of some kind that's going to be multi-platform. So that's very, very exciting as a fan of that game, and I really hope this happens. Matt, what do you think about this?
I love it. Yeah, I hope this happens. And to further go back to a little bit more about Another Eden, it's like a gacha game, but it also deals with like, you know, has parallel universes and characters from other different parallel universes. So you can like mold or bring in these characters from other universes. And Chrono Cross is already talks about different timelines and parallel timelines and how it connects to the Chrono franchise as a whole. So it's like a very easily you can integrate it because it's sort of following the canon and the story of Cross.
But I mean, it's also like no one these days knows any of these characters, like knows anything about Chrono Cross because it hasn't had a single re-release. You know what I mean? Like it was on like the PlayStation Store, you know, where you can buy the PS1 game or whatever. But that's it, you know. So it's like I feel like this has to be coming out, and I really do hope so. It was very upsetting to see all the Twitter comments and these posts talking about Chrono Cross, just everybody being like, "Why the fuck wouldn't you remake Chrono Trigger?" Like, you know.
Yeah,
but it's like Chrono Trigger's had so many re-releases, and this has never had a single one.
What did we call the McRib? The equivalent of the McRib last week?
Pokemon.
Pokemon is the McRib.
Yeah.
So Chrono Cross is like the
it's the Crystal Pepsi.
Yeah, it's a Crystal Pepsi. Okay, yeah. But it came back. It came back like 4 years ago.
This is its chance.
Uh-huh.
All right, I'll accept that because Crystal Pepsi seems cooler than McRib. It's got Crystal in the title. But so does Pokemon Crystal. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I'm just excited about this. And then needless to say, also, this was also part of the GeForce leak, the big Nvidia leak from 2 months ago. And we've seen so many things come true from that we can all pretty much, assume that this leak was accurate, you know? And so yeah, I'm just excited, hopefully for a whole new generation of people to finally play Chrono Cross for the first time, because it's an incredible story, an awesome world, and has like by far the best soundtrack of any video game of all time. So I'm very excited to play this again. And we're getting close, man. Like if this thing does come to the Switch, we're getting close to me having all the games that I requested to have on my Switch. It was like Monkey Ball 1 and 2, Chrono Cross, and a couple others that I'm forgetting right now, but those have already come out. So the Switch is definitely one of the greatest systems of all time as far as I'm concerned.
Awesome. Well, I think that does it then for the news and rumors. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk all about the Nvidia GeForce leak and leaks in video games in general. All right, we are back, and this week we are talking about the big Nvidia GeForce leak that happened a couple months ago that has borne out fruit and has been semi-proven, and we're going to talk about what that means, if in terms of, is this a confirmation of all the things on it, why not, and kind of what it means for the industry at large, because we've had a lot of big giant leaks lately, and what does that mean, and that sort of thing. So if you're like me, you might say, what is GeForce Now? Like before this, not something I was very familiar with. It is the Nvidia's cloud-based game streaming service, right? So I think the idea is you can, like Stadia or something else that you might be more familiar with, maybe just stream to any device theoretically, or probably not any device, right? Like I don't know if you can do it on your fridge, but to play. Is it a do y'all know much about this? Is it a subscription sort of thing, or do you buy games through it, or
Yeah, it's similar to all the other Stadia or xCloud, where it requires a subscription, and some games are on it, some games aren't. And similar to other services like this, you might have to buy games to use it on the service. Some games come with it as a part of the subscription. So it all depends.
But I mean, in addition to that too, you can also stream games that you already own through your own servers, correct? Like for instance, if you have a game and you've got it, you can stream it to another device playing on whatever the hardware is that it's originally on, right? So that's, I think, where a lot of the games on this list come from, why there's a lot of games that are unreleased, is during the pandemic, everybody's been working from home, and thus, all these developers can't just have these big rigs that have all the game data in their individual homes. So I think the idea is a lot of game devs have been using GeForce to stream from their offices that are uninhabited to their homes so they can play test and work on games and basically work on dev units or on PCs, really is where most games are made, right? And basically then because they've done that, then, all the names is in a list on Nvidia servers, basically. And that's what was hacked into here.
And GeForce is bigger than just GeForce Now, right? Like there's other GeForce applications. Like I have one on my PC that runs when I play Steam games and gives like little.
It's like a driver, right?
Yeah, can give you little additional information. Like I think it tells me the frame rate a game is playing at and stuff like that.
And
so it's like a bigger ecosystem.
Yeah, GeForce is part of Nvidia. They make graphics cards. Is the long and short thing. The short ditty. And to David's point, it's also GeForce Now, GeForce Experience, which runs on your PC, can also allow you to stream games from your PC to another device locally. So if you have an app like Moonlight or similar to like Steam does this too, you can stream what's on your PC to like your phone or your Android phone or your Nvidia Shield.
Mm-hmm.
So now that that's out of the way, so like in September, somebody, and I don't know if this person is named or that it matters even, but was poking around on GeForce Now and found some way to get into their database and found like a shit ton of listed games, right? Theoretically for the future as well as the present, I'm guessing. Is that accurate? Any other details there?
No, I mean, it's basically, between that and what I was saying earlier, it's like just like an unprecedented leak in scope, I think. I think this might be one of the biggest leaks of all time if it turned out to be true, and just like every month it's turning out to be truer and truer, right? And even then, Nvidia made a statement, right, like about this, basically confirming that it was real. Am I right on that, Matt? Like they basically said.
Yeah, I think the quote is Nvidia says the list contains both released and speculative titles used only for internal tracking and testing.
Right.
Yeah, so they didn't confirm that it had unreleased titles, but obviously that is true as we have discovered, right?
Yeah, as we've discovered over time, right?
Yeah,
so it's definitely like damage control without outright lying, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so what, David, what you're alluding to, and also Patrick, is that this is a database that someone accessed. So the question is like, where did this database aggregate its data from? So it could be from the streaming services that developers are using, all the metadata associated with those streams. There's also a YouTube user called Wimsu, WHIMSU. They are a developer, and their game showed up on this list. And what they speculate is when they were signing up to use DLSS on their game, that that data from that form to sign up for DLSS put on this list. So maybe a lot of these games are developers that requested to use DLSS technology or NVIDIA technology holistically that are appearing on this list, and Square, Capcom, all these game developers might use or could use DLSS on their games.
Either way, it's a hefty list, and it's a hefty list of games that we know a lot of them have come out, right? And a lot that haven't come out, but are games that people would just love to fucking see, right? It almost, like, whenever I read this for the first time, I was like, there's no way this is real, because this is like too good to be true almost. I mean, just looking at like the Square Enix stuff on it was really intense.
And there's all the Sony stuff on it too. Like that felt like that can't be true, but has kind of proven to be true as Sony's announced they have a PC division and also announced a game that's on that list.
But again, even then, it's like, I don't think that this list necessarily means that all of these games are coming to PC even, I mean, I say that, I was going to bring up Shin Megami Tensei 5 as an example. Shin Megami Tensei 5 is on here, but there's also been a lot of talk about that coming to PS4 and PC, or PS5 and PC rather. So maybe, but what I'm trying to say is games are developed on PC, right? And they have builds running on PC before they port them out to other consoles. And so it doesn't necessarily, like Mario and Rabbids is on here, right, on this list, the Mario and Rabbids sequel. That does not mean that Mario and Rabbids is coming to PC, right? That just means that they were using some sort of Nvidia tech, probably, like you were saying. It could have been DLSS, or it could have been them just streaming it over GeForce to work from home. But either way, yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean they're coming to PC, but I feel like most of these, if not like confirmed as coming out, or at least like going to be coming out before getting canceled.
And Matt's done some great work here for us in our notes to put together lists of some of the games that confirm or deconfirm this. And I think it's really interesting too, because in this list, some of these games have release dates, right? And like in particular, the ActRaiser remake had a release date of October 1st, and then it was announced and released on September 23rd, which is pretty close to that. I mean, again, I'm sure this is going to be hit and miss as well, but like definitely lend some credence to the potential release dates in some of these, especially maybe some of the closer ones. I don't know.
Yeah, let's go through some of these. So it's like, I guess like some that were right on the money with the release date is the Demon Slayer game. That was leaked as having a release date of 10/14/21, and that did come out on that day, correct?
Yep.
What else do we have on here? God of War was leaked and then announced to be coming out to PC. Crysis 2 remastered. Any of these other ones you want to mention?
Yeah, we have Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collections coming out on PC.
They haven't announced a release date for that yet, have they? Or maybe they have, we don't know. But
yeah, no release date yet. Yeah.
So yeah, that one might line up. It'll just be interesting to see as more of this data comes out, how accurate some of these listings is.
Generally, the idea we'll probably keep on repeating, coming back to, is like, this is the biggest leak potentially for the next 2 years. Of games. And we're a Nintendo podcast, and there are some Nintendo games on here that maybe utilize the Unreal Engine or other Unreal Epic assets. But a lot of these are third-party games that might come to the Switch or could come to the Switch in some form, whether it be cloud or actual direct ports.
Yeah, especially with that cloud aspect. Yeah. But it sounds like there's also been, there's a bunch of stuff on here that said it was going to had release dates that haven't been hit as well. So that's obviously not like it just shows that not all the information in here is going to 100% be accurate, right?
I mean, I wouldn't trust any release date information from this leak at all, just because, this past 2 years, if it's taught us anything, it's that every single fucking game is going to be delayed because of COVID.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, this has been the year of delays, right? I feel like there's a lot of stuff that was supposed to come out this year that's going to be coming out next year. And even then, I think some of the stuff that got pushed back will be pushed back even further, right? So I think like looking at I think the release date stuff is a little flimsy to me as far as like nailing it. I mean, looking at that Demon Slayer game coming out at the exact day that it said it was going to, that's definitely a big one. But I think like just because something has passed by already doesn't mean that it's, that it's not accurate. I just think that release dates are constantly in flux. And if you're, working on a game on GeForce Now and streaming it to a work from home environment, you're probably not at a point where that shit is locked in stone anyway. That's more like a goal,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so on that point, there's 2 games that appear on this list whose the leak dates have come and gone. 2 PC games, Gun Jam and Haunted Space, and then a game that is coming to Nintendo Switch, Windjammers 2, which has had many release dates over the past year or so. Like we played it at PAX. What, a year and a half?
Early
ago?
2020. Yeah.
That's almost 2 years ago. So that was the release date in the leak was Halloween, October 31st, 2021. Now we're in November.
Right.
Man, I played the beta for Windjammers 2 on PS4. It was a total shit show.
Yeah, so I remember watching you, trying to watch you stream. Yeah. Trying to watch you try to stream that.
Yeah, you're watching me trying to play it at all. Yeah, I just could barely get anything working. can't believe they actually even put that out. But yeah, so I don't know that that's something to like deconfirm this leak really. I just think it's basically another one of those things, and that's what Nvidia said themselves, right? It's like some of these might just be speculative ideas of games, right? But
for like a fan though, it's kind of interesting to see these target, assuming that's what they were, right? Like maybe like you said, these were target dates they put in or placeholder dates they put in, but they obviously were like aiming for them or were thinking about this. And so it's kind of interesting to think about that. Obviously we can't take, who knows, like you said, it might've just been somebody filling in a field they had to fill in or something, but like,
yeah,
but it is interesting.
This is a field that's called release date, but release date could mean anything. It could be a release date to the consumer, could be a release date when this date, when the developer is giving the necessary data to NVIDIA in order to publish it and go through all of their processes and all of their gone gold stuff. So we can speculate on this date, what this means all day, but that's the fun part.
Yeah, there are some really big games in this list for both us personally and just for gaming in general, right? Like we talked quite a bit in the news section about Chrono Cross having a remake, but there's some other evidence of that, right? That's on this list, and it has a release date in this leak. Right?
To be honest, that's one of the ones that I read, and I was like, "This is not real. This is a fake leak." You know what I mean? And then there's been all this rumbling over the past like 2 weeks about the Chrono Cross remaster, and so it's like, okay. So let's revisit this idea. Is the Nvidia leak is the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, we kind of covered a lot of the other evidence, but I guess it has a release date in December of this year, which seems unlikely because it is now December. But but there was some news, right, about they might announce some remake, but we'll see. Yeah, a bunch of Final Fantasy games. What you go ahead, David?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think like the biggest ones that were on here are all Square Enix games. So it's like a Final Fantasy Tactics remaster was on the GeForce Leak, which is weird because Square is also putting out Triangle Strategy now, which is like very much, I feel like putting out a Final Fantasy Tactics remaster would just cannibalize the sales of that game. You know what I mean? Because it's, better name recognition and a game that people know is good. But I think one of the biggest ones is more Final Fantasy VII remake stuff, and then a Final Fantasy IX remake was on this list as well. What do you guys think about that one? Do you guys think that would be the full Final Fantasy VII remake treatment to that game? Because like Chrono Cross remaster, Final Fantasy Tactics remaster are listed as such, but Final Fantasy IX was listed as a remake. What do you guys think about that?
That surprised me. That would surprise me.
Me too.
That was another one where I was like, this is fake, right? Yeah. But
I have no insight into the fan base beyond Final Fantasy IX. Would people want that? Like,
it's my favorite Final Fantasy personally.
Yeah. Is it similar to like the fan base of, I know 7 is maybe has the largest fan base, but as far as like passion is concerned.
Yeah.
Are people love Final Fantasy IX?
I mean,
I
think so. Yeah, it's a fan favorite. I think like Final Fantasy VII is the one that like broke through and like everybody loved. But Final Fantasy IX was like the distillation of the PS1 RPG, like into something. You know what I mean? Like it was towards the end of the generation of PS1. They did so many things better than Final Fantasy VII and 8. And they just like really nailed down the formula, right? Now that I haven't said it, it looks already a lot better than Final Fantasy VII. Like Final Fantasy VII is like kind of an ugly game by today's standards, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so like Final Fantasy IX has aged really gracefully in comparison. So it doesn't need it as much. And also like it just, I don't think that Final Fantasy VII Remake sold as much as Square was hoping it would, I think, after being hyped up for like, almost a fucking decade or like half a decade or whatever. And then it came out and then like the sales were like, okay, I think they were like, what do we do? So maybe maybe this is like very old when they thought this was still going to be doing well, but It's a very exciting proposition to think of.
There's also Street Fighter 6 on here, which I think is interesting because that was also in the Capcom leak. That was another legitimate leak of stolen, or I don't know, it's not leak, it was theft, I guess. What you call that one?
Ransomware, right?
Yeah, and in that they had Street Fighter 6 is coming out towards the end of 2022, and the release date here from this is the beginning of 2023. So that kind of lines up as well.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Some other big games, right? Like Tekken 8. I saw another one on one of these lists that I thought
new BioShock in 2022.
Yeah, and there's more on the list, and especially if you're, depending on what franchises you're into and stuff, a lot of interesting games that could be coming.
So some of the ones that like kind of confirmed it, this is the first we really heard of the Grand Theft Auto trilogy remasters was from this leak, and then they were announced like a month later or 2 months later, something like that. What else do we have on here? Something that I've been finding a little odd, is on this list was Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 HD versions, which there have kind of already been, but I guess more like up to date. But recently, like all these Metal Gear Solid games have been pulled from the eShop and from like the Xbox store and all that kind of stuff. Like you can't buy the 2 and 3 like HD double pack on the Xbox store anymore, which is a real bummer because I wanted to get that over Black Friday. Mm-hmm. So I find it interesting that that's been pulled, but this was on this list that kind of adds some credence to that. And then like Resident Evil 4 recently has been leaked as well. I mean, we knew that was coming from the Capcom leak, but like the dude who plays like Wesker or who is it in Resident Evil 4? Anyway, one of the voice actors for that recently kind of like unearthed a lot of that on a stream, and that's in this list as well.
Yeah, so we've gone over some of the evidence and specifics of this, but I think now maybe we'll just kind of talk about what this means and why we're talking about it. And there's some interesting things you can discuss and theorize about, right? Like one of the things I wanted us to talk about is like these giant leaks have been happening, whether you call them leaks or theft or whatever, because these are more like theft, whatever you want to call it. But like all this information is being stolen or dumped or whatever. Nintendo had the Giga leak. We had this Capcom leak. It just seems more and more prevalent. And what do y'all think about that? Like, it probably doesn't affect anybody but the most fervent of fans, right? Like, do you think the casual, I mean, and where that line is, I don't know, but like people who like to play video games but maybe don't follow video game news a ton aren't going to necessarily hear about some of this stuff, right?
So I'm stoked about text on a spreadsheet, Patrick.
But like, I guess my point is like,
this episode was Matt's idea, by the way.
Yeah. Does this change? Like, do developers have this stuff come out and then freak out and think like we need to not work, or like go and chastise Nvidia, or do they just say, well, this is the price of doing business in the modern age, and most of our fans aren't going to even hear about it anyway? You know what I mean? I guess that's sort of my thought. Like, curious, like what y'all think about all this information being out there and how secretive video game industry is about their materials and release, their announcements and that kind of stuff. Especially nowadays, it seems like they want to announce stuff. Obviously, like everybody wants to announce stuff when they want to and have a sort of a marketing campaign and that kind of thing. Do you think people are up in arms?
Yeah, in a way, obviously I think people are pissed off when stuff like this happens because it can throw a wrench into whatever marketing strategy that you've cooked up behind the scenes in the lead up to a release, right? You don't want all that just like thrown out the window. If you had like specific times you were going to announce stuff and then it's all been talked about beforehand. Yeah, totally. But then on the other hand, also, people are talking about Chrono Cross right now.
Yeah.
And it's in the public consciousness. And if they let's just have a theoretical, right? Mm-hmm. Like, let's say that, at the Game Awards or something, they were like, and we're doing a Chrono Cross remaster and we're dropping it today. It's like a shadow drop. They're trying to be like kind of suave about it. Like, how many people would even like remember what that fucking game is? You know what I mean? Like, kids these days are like gamers, like they're not going to know what that is. Like it's the people who like grew up with a PS1 that are going to be excited about it, right? But now that like people have heard a lot of rumblings, not only through this Nvidia leak, but through other things that have leaked this past week, now the hardcore gaming audience that would already be excited about it when it dropped are talking about it ahead of time and building up hype amongst themselves, which is then going to leak out a little bit into the more like gaming casual market, right? And at least it's like, I don't want to say trending because I don't think it was trending on Twitter or anything, but you know what I'm saying? It's like now it's at least a little bit more in the public consciousness. So, the hardcore sweaties who would have gotten excited about this announcement aren't going to be excited about it, but they were probably going to buy it anyway, right? So it's like, I don't know. I just think it's like, kind of like free marketing in a way.
Yeah.
And I think like, I really do wonder like how many leaks that happen, because there are so many leaks that happen these days, and it's like how many of them are like kind of controlled or at least like not shut down. You know what I mean? Like they kind of let the conversation happen.
Yeah. Similarly, like if another theoretical, let's say this was fake. Or not fake, but like the Chrono Cross thing was a total placeholder. They might now be like, maybe we should remake that game.
Now they have free data to support whether they do it or not.
All these people on the internet are talking about it, and seem to want it. So maybe we should. And that's another thing I could see with the fake leaks or whatever, people being like, or this sort of thing with Super Monkey Ball, them, teasing, talking about it to see what people's reaction is and that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's shit you hear all the time. It's like, hey, you want to like have this game release come out? Let's hear you. Let's hear it. Pressure Sega of America or whatever, right? And it's like, and while I kind of hate that because it's just not putting responsibility on the game devs or publishers, and it's being like, hey, make a bunch of noise and like, tweet and annoy all your friends on Twitter, but it's like, it's all kind of part of the same gig, I think.
Another thing I think is interesting to talk about, right? And I think this might be a question that's answered in this instance, right? About because why are these games here? Because they might be using this for development purposes. But like, how far ahead do some of these databases have this information? Yeah, like in this instance, maybe it's because they were using it for DLSS or whatever. But like, if there was some similar leak from I don't know, Steam or Nintendo, I mean, I don't know, Nintendo maybe more than Steam, like would it be, how far out would it be? Would it be accurate? Like how do developers and these platforms talk, and can we trust that information and that kind of thing? I don't know. Do y'all have any thoughts on that aspect?
I mean, it makes sense. How far in advance? I think we could speculate on that. But we just know that it happens, and Nintendo or Square have to have these conversations with their localization departments to put their games on Steam and their games on Game Pass and then their games on the eShop. And there's probably either a small group of people that coordinates, is Final Fantasy IX available on this? Is it on on Steam? Is it available on the eShop? Is it available on GOG?
Right.
And having all those conversations to make sure that things are clear and what, Square is sure of where their games are being made available, so they can like identify the trends and see where people are buying their games.
I think this to me shows me a couple things. Firstly, I think it shows how completely unprepared for a COVID lockdown everybody was. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you could see that just from having to have Zoom calls with, fucking Luddites, and they can't, they're constantly like, you can't hear them or whatever. You know what I mean? Like people had to like had to have a crash course in learning how to use like microphones and Zoom and cameras and all this shit, right? So there's that, but it's also like, if people were suddenly in a remote situation, they might not have time to build out an internal infrastructure for properly working from home while protecting their data, right? And so they use something like Nvidia GeForce Now to do this stuff, unaware that it has massive holes, because maybe even Nvidia wasn't prepared for this amount of load of developers working on very sensitive NDA'd material, right? And and so, and I think about that all the time, like working at a job that has, many multitude of NDAs that we have to sign about stuff. And it's like, here we are, we've been working from home this whole time talking about shit. What if somehow some of this got hacked? It's not out of the ordinary. And then two, the other thing that I take from this is, there are 0 Nintendo first party games on this list, right? Like the only Nintendo games on here that I can see for my money is Shin Megami Tensei 5, Bayonetta 3, and Mario and Rabbids. Each of those are made by outside studios from Nintendo and they're published by Nintendo, right? So, and also Nintendo famously has had a really rough go of working over the pandemic, and they've had to really delay all their shit. I think that's because they're worried about shit like this. You know what I mean? Like, this has happened one too many times. I think Nintendo probably put in proper infrastructure and spent the time getting all their shit ready for people to work from home so it could be airtight, right? So I think it's like, I don't know. That's kind of my takeaway from this is like, I think that Nintendo is in no rush to get any of their shit out. That's why like 2021 has been kind of a slow year, even though that's kind of arguable. I think Nintendo's holiday is actually quite good. But I certainly think they wanted more out by the end of this year. I think they probably wanted Breath of the Wild 2 out at this point. But it's all just going to kind of get delayed, and stuff like this is only going to make people more hesitant about working quickly in difficult times like this. And I think we're just going to see a lot more delays. That's why I think you can't really read any of those release dates as gospel on this thing.
I think it's interesting. Yeah, you're right. Nintendo games, Nintendo first party games don't show up on this list. I think that's fascinating to what it might speak volumes of what Nvidia, the lengths that they might go in order to protect data associated with Nintendo. Maybe they have strong relationships, and maybe Nintendo uses some Nvidia assets or services or resources in some way. And so it's
they're bedfellows, Nvidia and Nintendo now. They're like BFFs.
Yeah, and so what that means for those relationships, though, that tells us that those relationship between Nvidia and like Nvidia is it the Nvidia chip on the Switch?
Yeah.
Or it means they use NVIDIA hardware, but not whatever, I don't know, this service was, you know what I mean? Like that, or services that pulled this specific information, that they have their own in-house, whatever. Or don't have that.
NVIDIA is like hella invested into Nintendo though right now. You know what I mean? They've been putting out so many chips for them. And I think they will continue in the future because I don't think Nintendo's going to abandon this hybrid console anytime soon. So it's like, I think it's like Daddy Nintendo kind of has a different fucking, they don't take this shit lightly. They hate leaks. You just don't, they're tight. They're a tight ship. Right. And I think that was probably built into whatever they were doing. That's why it all took so long.
And then I think it was Matthew, you said this anyway, but like, or you said this before we started, that this also kind of just confirms that Square and also every company is obsessed with remakes and remasters. I mean, we've talked about it before, but like this whole list is just a bunch of old games, but like new versions of them.
Yeah. I just think about like if you're Square or if you're Capcom, you have this vast game library. And so you get to decide, you see the future coming, which is Game Pass or online services. You get to decide, hey, do we want to figure out to take this old game and figure out how to port it to these services? Or do we remake it, spend a little money now, remake it, sell the box version, and then later put it on one of these services as they exist? So you're like thinking forward 5 or 10 years, and just deciding to remake all these games. And then you continually make money so you can make new games and their popular IPs.
And the new games are all sequels.
Yeah.
But this also is probably confirmation bias because nobody's looking at this list of names they have no idea and then being like, they're making this, that we don't know what this is and who this is. And it
just makes sense too if like these games like are using this service, that they might all be like kind of more like multi-platform releases, right? And I think like the easiest thing for a company to do making like big multi-platform games is probably like, hey, let's just re-release, right? We'll build a PC version and then port everything from there, right? And then voila, we've got a huge database of shit that's been running on a PC over GeForce Now. So
Exactly.
that kind of makes a little bit of sense to me.
Well, awesome. I mean, is there anything else y'all want to mention before we move on? I think we've kind of talked about a lot of the big points, and it's been great. But is there any final thoughts or anything we didn't get to talk about?
So many remakes, man. So many remasters. It's both good and bad. I'm okay with some of it sometimes. I know people sometimes hate sequels for things or want new ideas. But the game industry is fucking big. And like remaking Final Fantasy VII 9 or like Chrono Cross is exciting because David, you said this, like new people get to play these new games that they might not otherwise play because they're they got jaggies or they're pixelated.
Mm-hmm. I'll maybe I'll just list a couple of games I'm excited about and hope are real from this thing. Just looking through it. Obviously, we talked about the Final Fantasy 9 remake and the Chrono Cross remaster. Tomb Raider has got some stuff in here. I'd love a new Tomb Raider game or a compilation of the 3 of the new ones. I think that would be great to have go multiplat. You got Kingdom Hearts 4 on this list. You got to think that's in development, right? They never said Kingdom Hearts 2 was going to be the last one. Let's see. BioShock 2022, like we said earlier. Titanfall 3 and a Mirror's Edge remaster. Although, honestly, I don't think you need a remaster Mirror's Edge. That's one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen in my entire life. But I think it holds up really, really well to this day. Let's see. What else is on here that's looking good? I think Half-Life 2 remastered is on this list. That game could actually use a good remaster, I think, and anything that puts us towards a new Half-Life game gets me excited. You have any that you want to shout out?
I mean, this game, Mega Man Match, appeared in the Capcom link and also appears here. It might be a game similar to, there's an arcade Mega Man game called Mega Man Power Battles or Power Fighters or something. A different entry into the Mega Man franchise would be great. And that's scheduled to come out next year around this time, November 2022.
And guys, Goat Simulator 2 is on this list.
Let's go.
Remember when the internet went crazy for that dumb goat?
Yeah, of course.
Some people still are crazy for that dumb goat.
Are they? Did that? I don't know.
That's why they're making a second one? I don't know.
Anyway, yeah. I can't wait to see more and more games tick off this list in the future. I mean, I'll find it interesting. I think like as people who are in the hardcore gaming audience and the people that like to talk about it all the time and speculate it all the time, like leaks are fun for us because when they become real, we get to be all high and mighty and be like, see, I knew it ahead of time. I knew it before it was announced. Right. And so it's like, if we're going to always be there, like the hardcore gaming audience are going to be making all these purchases, I think leaks don't really hurt us, but don't really hurt them for us to know. It just makes us feel good because we knew about it ahead of time, and it makes them feel good because we were a locked-in purchase anyway, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I don't think this is hurting too many people, and I think it's fun, and it's what counts as drama in our circles.
Awesome. Well, I think that about does it then. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the games we've been playing recently. So I don't have any new games to report. Same deal. I play Shin Megami Tensei 5 for a new experience, and then I am playing Smash and Animal Crossing, and also really enjoying Halo Infinite. I just
Patrick.
Yes.
Why haven't we played?
Well,
I don't know,
fuck, dude. Why don't you ever tell us when you're playing?
Mostly because I just play a few matches quickly when I have time. It's kind of the same way I play Smash. It's kind of like why I'm getting into it, I think. But I would love to play a more. I'm not that great. I'm like embarrassed of how bad I am.
Patrick, we discussed this last episode. We're probably at the exact same level of skill.
But I feel like if I play a little more, I'll get better, and then y'all will be like, "Yes, you're amazing."
No, I want to be able to beat you every once in a while. I wish to be on a team.
But I also did like a follow-up. I'm playing on a controller. I have cubital tunnel syndrome. It's not something I talk a lot about because it's not terrible. But like I have to be thoughtful about things and trying. I haven't tried to play a first-person shooter with mouse and keyboard in a really long time. And that just the holding down the W button is not good for me.
And the clicking is
and the mouse too. So I switched back to controller, but that's fine. It's Also, while I'm talking about like weird little things like Animal Crossing, I bought a second copy of Animal Crossing so I could play at the same time and visit islands and stuff. But something about the DLC and depending on what I'm trying to do causes me problems, and that's a little frustrating because it's like, hey, I'm paying for the family plan. I bought a second copy of this game. Why can't I visit my son? Anyway, there's a specific way of like me trying to go to my primary Switch doesn't work. But anyway, doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. There's workarounds, but that's the downside, I guess, to not just buying the DLC is that it wants to check the DLC every time, and that seems to cause a problem. Anyway, that's what I've been playing. What about y'all?
I've been playing Halo Infinite quite a bit. I've been staying up really late and playing a whole lot. And that Halo community, I love it. It is just sometimes so toxic. Like nothing is ever good enough.
You just discovering this?
No, not at all. No. It's like it's the scab that is there, but you keep on picking it, and then it grows back, and you keep on picking it, and you're like, I really need to do something about this behavior. You don't do anything. I think 343 is in a tough spot. With like Microsoft and microtransactions, and there's this weird intersection of like old school gamers, like us oldies, and like the new gamers who are used to these microtransactions in Fortnite,
free to play stuff,
and free to play. And so there's this cross section of expectations for what people want, and what people need, and what people like. And there's all these opinions going out. I'm just fucking glad there's no Halo and people are excited about it, and that other people like you, Patrick, when you're saying I'm playing Halo, that's what I love because I love this world and I love this franchise. And
and I'm not paying for a skin.
Right? Yeah, me either. I love this game.
Like it's cool. Yeah, it's Master Chief.
What do you think about the progression system? I've been hearing lots of complaints.
It's dog shit.
It.
Yeah, it's hard. Like I met all of my weekly challenges, and I have no other challenges to do. And every match you get like a small XP boost, like 50 XP, but you might need 500 to get to the next one. So you might have to play 10 matches to level up. It's
and it's like every Tuesday or something. Those things
exactly. Yeah. But on the subject of Halo, I'll be going to Seattle to play with my Halo friends. And I think we're going to go see the Halo Museum at 343. So I'm really excited.
Is 343 in Seattle?
Yes, it's in Redmond. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's in Redmond? Cool.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see all the swag over the past few years of just to like be there. It's like there's a third beat that I've been making jokes with my friends of like, we're going there to play Halo, and then we're gonna go to the Halo Museum, and then like the next beat is like get Halo tattoos or something weird like that.
You become Halo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's fun. Cool. It's an exciting time.
See, do you think 343 have redeemed themselves? Because for a long time they were like, man, was this? It's just not the same as when it was Bungie, right? Like, has it ever gone back to the height of the Bungie Halo goodness?
We got to see the campaign.
Yeah,
I think to definitely assess that. But we can
as far as multiplayer is concerned, though. Yeah.
As far as the past few weeks, a lot of people are talking about it, and a lot of people are playing it. And at the end of the day, that's what's exciting.
Cool, nice. I'll go next. I've been playing tons of games recently. Been great. Been doing some good old fashioned Sega Picross. Almost made my way through that game. I don't know why. It's the only thing I want to play. But I've been playing lots of other stuff other than that. I did pick up a couple games from the eShop. I did get Cruise and Blast.
Whoa.
as you can see there. So I picked that up. That game's super fun. Wish it had online, but I had some great times playing with my dad because it's just batshit. It's just like the controls feel not even like a car. It's so arcadey, you know, and it's just like constantly shit is happening, and you're also wheeling like 90% of every race, and it just makes no sense. And it's very fun, and it was just like nonstop, like just grin ear to ear as I was playing. So I definitely recommend Cruis'n Blast. It's been on sale for this Black Friday stuff, and I think it's like $10 off. I think I got it for like 25. Still maybe quite a bit more than it really should be. But I haven't really gotten all the way into it yet. I want to play it a little bit more. It's definitely a lot of just good, dumb fun. Some other games I picked up on that sale. I did pick up the Mega Man Z and ZX compilation because I've been eyeing that one for a while, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. And so I ended up getting that. Quite enjoying it. Mega Man Z, I had the first one on Game Boy Advance. That's a super fun game. And then ZX games for the DS are they're like Metroidvanias built around the Mega Man formula, the Mega Man X formula, really specifically. And so those are really fun. And I'm just a big proponent of Game Boy Advance and DS games on the Switch. And so I like to have those in my library. So that's kind of cool. I've been playing some of that. I've been playing some more Monkey Ball Banana Mania, some Katamari Damacy Reroll I've been playing recently as well. And then maybe let's switch over because I've also been dipping my toes into a lot of indies on Game Pass recently on my Xbox. And I actually did a stream the other day of like 3 very chill Xbox games. One of them I talked about last week, that's Sable. Sable is still super fun. I'm still playing that. It's very much an indie Breath of the Wild that plays really, really well. It is beautiful, gorgeous art style. So I'm really enjoying that. And then I did play a little bit of Unpacking based on Steven Swirsky's recommendation last week, and very much enjoyed that. It's very chill. I might play a little bit more of that kind of soon. It's not like really gripping me, but it's also like an easy breezy, kind of.
Can you do wheelies the entire playthrough?
You can't if you just tilt your Xbox Series S back, I guess. But no, I mean, it's just like, it's exactly what it looks like. It's just pulling stuff out of boxes and putting them onto shelves. But it's like, it's just like the sound design is beautiful. Like Steven was telling me today, it's like, I think they recorded something like 40,000 individual like sound files because it's like every single object makes a different sound depending on what surface you put it onto. You know what I mean? And all this kind of stuff. So it's like they really put in the work. Kind of reminds me of like everything. Like when we were talking to Eduardo about doing the sound design for everything, he's like, it was a massive fucking undertaking, And it's like, yeah, it seems like that was the same for this game. So I'm enjoying it. And then lastly, I wanted to shout out this like really, really cool game on Game Pass that I'd never heard about before I downloaded it. And it's called XO1. Have you guys heard of this game? It's crazy. It's so unique. I've never really played anything like it. And it's basically, it's an exploration game, again, set on these different planets. And it's all made by one developer. And you play this like basically an orb, this like circle that's kind of like a UFO, I guess. And you just kind of fly around on these planets. And like the way that the movement works is you increase the gravity of your ship. So you'll go down like dunes or down like hills or slopes. And then as you're about to reach the, I guess not the apex, but whatever you call the bottom of the hill, you like let off the gravity and then use that momentum to rocket up another hill. And then as you're going up, you can like flatten your body out from an orb and like glide outward. And so it's this kind of like, I don't know, it's just like it's like this momentum based gameplay, and there's no words, and the story is really wild, but the graphics are incredible, and it's so like moody and interesting looking, and just it's such a unique experience. I never played anything like it before, and I was just really drawn to it by some screenshots that I saw on Game Pass and picked it up. I really recommend this game if you have a chance. I would play it. I think I played like about the first hour or so. I think I've heard the game is about 3-4 hours long, something like that. So I'm definitely going to go back and play that again. I might even play that on stream. Might go back to play that, like finish it on stream because I had such a good time with it. Although I don't know how good of a stream game it is because I was just like silent the whole time because my mind was just getting blown. I was just like, I don't know what, I'm like speechless. You know?
Well,
so yeah. Anyway,
connecting two things you were just saying there, like the other night you were streaming unpacking. I watched actually some of it. I wasn't able to chat because I think I popped up into this room to just do something real quick on the computer and saw you were streaming, and so I threw you up. You know, I was like, oh, I'll just leave him running here, and then I like kind of started like, oh, what is this game? He's it's satisfying to watch him put these things on shelves, and like got sucked in to the point my wife's like, where are you? And I'm like, oh yeah. So like I definitely can feel you. Like unpacking doesn't look like, I didn't get it until I watched you play it, and it definitely doesn't seem like it would grip me, but it does seem like a fun experience to play once.
It's funny to hear you say that, Patrick, because I remember like the conversation 10 or 15 years ago where like, I can't believe we're watching other people play games. And now we're watching other people play a game about unpacking stuff and talking about how satisfying that is. It's it's really weird.
It's definitely the fun part of that game is trying to like figure out what this person's life story is, right? Like what they're into. You see like, okay, they've had this stuffed animal since they were a kid, you know, and now it's come across all the way through all these different apartments, and now they've moved in with the dude, and it's still in her stuff, right? Or, you know, how it's like over the years, her love for like art and creating illustrations has never gone away because she still packs art supplies with her wherever she goes. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. That's kind of like what makes it entertaining, I think. But
I was entertained by you putting a radio on a bookshelf or whatever, you know, like it gripped me.
Let's go. Let's fucking go. You should watch me do that in real life, Patrick. It's more entertaining.
Anyway, that does it for this episode. We want to thank MilkyWay.co for doing our website and thank Corduroy for doing our music. If you're looking for me, Patrick, online, I am PDYX.
Hey, I'm Matthew on Twitter, MATHYOU.
I'm pretty much ever on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And if you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Switch Headz on Twitter, at Super Switch Headz on Instagram and Facebook. And then always remember you can join our Discord. We'll have a link to that and our Facebook group, two very good communities. That'll be in the description of this podcast or video on YouTube. And if you're listening to our audio version, please come over to our YouTube and give us a subscribe. Like all those videos, share them around. You know, we're trying to play that YouTube algo, baby. And we could really use your support over there and share episodes with friends like people have been saying earlier in the episode. That's going to do it. Thanks once again for listening to today's episode on the Nvidia GeForce Leak. I just want to real quickly, it's not a game, but I did want to show off my, look at this. I got the, we've talked about him before. Jammin' Sam Miller is doing the recreation of the Donkey Kong Country soundtrack. And somehow he got the rights to put it on vinyl and sell it for money. So I bought it and it's amazing. So I'm going to go listen to this when I'm done. I just wanted to give that a shout out. But we'll be back next week, folks. I don't know. I should have said that earlier. We'll be back next week with another great episode. Can't wait. But in the meantime, be safe out there. Be kind to your neighbor. Make sure you get your booster shots. Make sure you get vaccinated. And, I hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving and hope the rest of the year treats you good as well. Until then, we'll see you next week. We love you. Bye-bye.